You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you sleep, and tomorrow you do it all over again. Every single day, the same routine, the same struggle, the same question echoing in the back of your mind. What's the point? What if I told you that this feeling, this gnawing sense that life might be meaningless, isn't a problem to solve? It's the key to your freedom? Welcome to the philosophy of absurdism, where the universe's silence becomes your greatest liberation. Let me take you back to ancient Greece, to a man named Sisyphus. According to myth, Sisyphus was a king who defied the gods, cheated death twice, and thought he could outsmart the universe itself. The gods, furious at his audacity, condemned him to the most perfect punishment they could imagine. For all eternity, Sisyphus must roll a massive boulder up a steep mountain. Every time he reaches the summit, exhausted and drenched in sweat, the boulder rolls back down to the bottom, and he has to start again. Forever, no escape, no end, no meaning, just the boulder, the mountain, and the endless repetition. Now, before you think this is just another Greek tragedy, let me tell you why this myth matters to you right now in your life. Because French philosopher Albert Camus looked at Sisyphus and saw something radical. He saw us. He saw our jobs, our routines, our endless pursuit of goals that never quite satisfy us. He saw the promotions that feel empty once we get them, the relationships that still leave us lonely, the achievements that fade into the background noise of existence. Camus asked the most dangerous question philosophy has ever posed. If life is fundamentally absurd and meaningless, why shouldn't we just end it all? Why continue the struggle? Before you close this video thinking it's too dark, stay with me. Because what Camus discovered wasn't despair. It was the secret to living fully, authentically, and freely in a world that offers no guarantees, no cosmic purpose, no instruction manual for existence. The answer to life's meaninglessness isn't suicide, religious faith, or pretending everything has a grand purpose. The answer is rebellion. And that rebellion starts with understanding what absurdism actually means. Absurdism is built on a simple but profound conflict. Human beings desperately crave meaning, order, and purpose. We want to believe our lives matter, that our struggles lead somewhere, that the universe cares about our existence. But here's the problem. The universe doesn't care. It's silent, indifferent, cold. When you scream into the void asking, "Why am I here?" the void doesn't answer. It just echoes your voice back at you, empty and unchanged. This collision between our need for meaning and the universe's refusal to provide it is what Camus called the absurd. Think about it. You spend years building a career, sacrificing time, energy, and relationships, climbing that corporate ladder. You finally reach the top, and then what? You realize the view isn't what you expected. The success feels hollow. You look around and ask, "Is this it?" And the universe shrugs. Or consider love. You invest everything into another person, building a life together, creating memories and meaning. But people change. Relationships end. Or worse, they continue in quiet dissatisfaction. And even if you find perfect love, even if you build the perfect family, everyone you love will die. Your children will age. Your friends will disappear. Time devours everything. How is that not absurd? Here's where most people make a critical mistake. They assume that if life is meaningless, then nothing matters, and we should all just give up. But Camus rejected this completely. He called this attitude philosophical suicide, the act of killing your reason and your awareness to escape the uncomfortable truth. Most people commit philosophical suicide in one of two ways. First, they leap into religious faith, creating elaborate stories about afterlives, cosmic purposes, and divine plans. They can't tolerate the silence of the universe, so they fill it with comforting illusions. Camus wasn't attacking religious people. He was attacking intellectual dishonesty. If you truly accept absurdism, you can't run away into fantasy. The second form of philosophical suicide is what Camus saw in other existentialist philosophers. Jean-Paul Sartre, for example, believed we could create authentic meaning through our choices and actions. He thought freedom meant constructing your own essence, your own purpose. But Camus disagreed. He argued that trying to create meaning is just another escape, another way of refusing to truly face the absurd. It's like Sisyphus deciding, actually, rolling this boulder up the mountain gives my existence purpose. No, the boulder is meaningless. The mountain is meaningless. And pretending otherwise is self-deception. So, if we can't escape into religion and we can't create artificial meaning through philosophy, what do? This is where Camus offers his most radical idea. We embrace the absurd. We acknowledge it fully, without flinching, without escaping, without sugarcoating the truth. And then we live anyway. We rebel against the absurd, not by defeating it. That's impossible, but by refusing to be defeated by it. We become what Camus called the absurd hero. Let's return to Sisyphus on his mountain. Camus imagines the moment when Sisyphus reaches the peak, watches his boulder roll back down, and begins his descent to start all over again. In that moment of pause, Sisyphus is fully conscious. He knows exactly what awaits him. More pushing, more struggling, more futility. The gods designed this punishment to break his spirit through its utter meaninglessness. But here's the twist. Camus says we must imagine Sisyphus happy, not despite his burden, but because of his awareness of it. How can someone condemned to meaningless labor possibly be happy? Because Sisyphus has achieved something the gods cannot take from him: lucidity. He sees his fate clearly. He doesn't deceive himself with false hope. He doesn't pray for the boulder to stay at the top. He doesn't tell himself stories about how this suffering will lead to future reward. He simply accepts that this is his existence, and in that acceptance, he finds a profound freedom. The boulder is his. The mountain is his. The struggle is his. And because he owns his fate completely, the gods have no power over him anymore. This is the core of absurdist philosophy. Once you fully accept that life has no inherent meaning, you become free to live it on your own terms. You're no longer chasing some cosmic approval or waiting for the universe to validate your choices. You're no longer disappointed when reality doesn't match your expectations because you never expected reality to care about you in the first place. This might sound depressing, but consider the alternative. Spending your entire life desperately searching for meaning that doesn't exist, measuring yourself against standards you didn't choose, feeling perpetually inadequate because you haven't found your true purpose. Modern society is built on the denial of absurdity. We're told from birth that we need to find our passion, discover our purpose, make our mark on the world. Social media amplifies this pressure to an unbearable degree. Every day, you scroll through carefully curated highlight reels of other people's apparent success, happiness, and meaning. Everyone seems to have it figured out except you. The pressure to have a personal brand, a life mission, a 5-year plan is suffocating. And when you inevitably fail to find that one perfect purpose that makes everything make sense, you feel broken. You feel like you're the problem. But absurdism tells you there is no perfect purpose. There is no cosmic plan. The universe doesn't have a checklist for your life. All those people pretending they've found ultimate meaning, they're either lying to themselves or lying to you. The CEO who says work is his purpose will still face the void when he retires. The influencer who claims her content is changing lives will still wonder if any of it mattered when the algorithm moves on. The artist who believes her work will outlive her will still die, and eventually, so will everyone who remembers her art. This isn't nihilism. Nihilism says nothing matters, so why bother? Absurdism says nothing inherently matters, so you're free to create your own values, your own joys, your own reasons to continue. The difference is crucial. The nihilist gives up. The absurdist shows up every single day and pushes the boulder anyway, not because it will lead somewhere, but because the pushing itself is the point. The struggle is the meaning. Camus offers 3 consequences of accepting the absurd: revolt, freedom, and passion. Revolt doesn't mean violence or destruction. It means refusing to accept easy answers, refusing to let the absurd defeat you, refusing to stop living just because life is meaningless. It's the quiet but powerful act of saying, I know this is pointless, and I'm doing it anyway. This revolt is constant, daily, eternal. Every morning you wake up knowing you'll die someday, knowing your achievements will be forgotten, knowing the universe doesn't care, and you live fully anyway. That's rebellion. Freedom follows naturally from revolt. Once you stop waiting for external validation or cosmic purpose, you become radically free. You're no longer bound by society's expectations, your parents' dreams for you, or the pressure to justify your existence. You can choose your values based on what actually matters to you, not what you think should matter. Want to spend your life making art that nobody will see? Do it. Want to work a simple job and focus on relationships? Do it. Want to travel or stay home, or change careers every few years, or commit to one path? Do it. None of these choices are inherently more meaningful than others, so you might as well choose the ones that bring you alive. And that's where passion comes in. Absurdism doesn't kill joy, it intensifies it. When you accept that nothing is guaranteed, that every moment is fleeting, that death erases everything, suddenly the present moment becomes infinitely precious. You stop postponing happiness until you achieve some future goal. You stop treating life as a problem to solve and start experiencing it as something to live. You find passion not in grand purposes, but in immediate experiences. The taste of good food, the warmth of sunlight, the laughter of friends, the satisfaction of work done well, the beauty of art, the thrill of ideas, the comfort of silence. Let me give you a modern example. Imagine someone who spends 10 years training to become a doctor. They sacrifice their 20s, accumulate massive debt, work 100-hour weeks during residency. They do this because they believe medicine is their calling, their purpose, the thing that will make their life meaningful. Then they become a doctor and realize the healthcare system is broken, patients are difficult, the work is exhausting, and they're just one small person in a vast, indifferent machine. Many doctors face burnout and existential crisis because the purpose they built their entire identity around turns out to be insufficient. An absurdist approach would be different. The absurdist doctor knows from the beginning that medicine isn't a cosmic calling. It's just a choice among many possible choices. They don't need their work to provide ultimate meaning. Instead, they find value in the immediate act of helping individual patients, in the challenge of solving medical problems, in the relationships with colleagues. When the system fails or the work becomes difficult, they're not devastated because they never expected the universe to reward their efforts. They simply do the work because they've chosen to do it, and that choice is enough. This applies to every area of life. Relationships become richer when you accept that no person will complete you or give your life ultimate meaning. You love people not because they fulfill some cosmic destiny, but because the experience of loving is valuable in itself. Work becomes more bearable when you stop expecting it to be your identity or your purpose. You work to live, and you find meaning in how you spend the time and resources that work provides. Even personal growth and self-improvement become simpler when you accept that there's no final version of yourself you're trying to reach. You grow and change because it's interesting, not because you're trying to become some idealized person. The absurdist perspective also transforms how you deal with failure and suffering. In a meaning-driven worldview, suffering needs justification. Everything happens for a reason. This pain will make me stronger. There's a lesson in this struggle. But absurdism doesn't require suffering to have a purpose. Sometimes terrible things happen for no reason. Sometimes you fail despite doing everything right. Sometimes people you love hurt you without meaning to. The universe doesn't owe you fairness, lessons, or growth opportunities. Suffering simply is. This might sound harsh, but it's actually liberating. You don't have to perform mental gymnastics to justify your pain. You don't have to pretend that losing someone you love was meant to be, or that your trauma happened to teach you something. You can acknowledge that life is cruel and random while still choosing to continue, to love again, to trust again, to hope again, not because you're guaranteed a good outcome, but because the alternative is to let the absurd win. Camus wrote, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." This is the ultimate absurdist statement. It's not about reaching the summit. It's not about the boulder staying at the top. It's about the act of pushing, the decision to continue, the consciousness you bring to your own existence. Sisyphus is happy not when his punishment ends. It never ends. But in every moment he chooses to push the boulder again. Think about your own life right now. What are you pushing? Maybe it's a career that doesn't feel as meaningful as you hoped. Maybe it's a relationship that requires constant work. Maybe it's creative projects that nobody notices. Maybe it's your own mental health, your body, your daily routines. From the outside, your struggles might look pointless, Sisyphean. And you know what? They probably are pointless in the grand cosmic scheme, but that doesn't mean you should stop. It means you get to decide what your pushing is worth. Here's the secret that absurdism reveals. Meaning doesn't come from the universe. It comes from you. Not in the existentialist sense of creating meaning, but in the simpler sense of choosing what you value, what you care about, how you spend your limited time. The universe doesn't validate these choices. Other people might not understand them. Future generations won't remember them. And that's okay. Your life is yours. Your boulder is yours. Your mountain is yours. Push it because you've chosen to push it, and find your happiness in that choice. This is why Camus insisted we must imagine Sisyphus happy, not despite the absurdity, but because of the awareness of it. Once you see clearly that nothing external will save you, that no cosmic purpose will suddenly appear, that you're fundamentally alone in a silent universe, you're finally free to live. Free from expectation, free from disappointment, free from the exhausting search for meaning, free to find joy in the immediate, the present, the real. So what should you do with this knowledge? First, stop waiting for your life to begin. Stop telling yourself that once you achieve this goal, find this relationship, or discover this purpose, then you'll finally be happy. Sisyphus doesn't get to retire after 1,000,000 pushes. Neither do you. This is your life, right now, in all its absurd glory. Live it. Second, embrace uncertainty. The universe owes you nothing. Fair outcomes, karmic justice, happy endings, these are stories we tell ourselves. Reality doesn't follow narrative logic. Accepting this doesn't mean becoming cynical, it means becoming realistic. And realism is the foundation of genuine joy. because it prevents the crushing disappointment that comes from false expectations. Third, find your immediate passions. What brings you alive right now? Not what will look good on my obituary, or what will people think is important, but what actually makes you feel engaged, present, and human? For some people, it's art. For others, it's relationships, or nature, or intellectual challenges, or physical activities, or helping others, or solitude. None of these choices are more meaningful than others in any cosmic sense. So choose based on your actual experience, not on what you think should matter. Fourth, practice revolt. Every day that you get up and face the absurd without running away, you're rebelling. Every time you love knowing you'll lose, create knowing it will be forgotten, or work knowing it's ultimately futile, you're choosing life over death, engagement over escape. This daily rebellion is the only authentic response to absurdity. And finally, be kind to others who are pushing their own boulders. Everyone you meet is Sisyphus. Everyone is struggling with their own mountain, their own weight, their own endless cycle. Some people are still pretending their boulder will stay at the top. Some are crushed by the realization that it won't. Some have found their own absurdist peace. You don't know which struggle someone is facing, so offer compassion, offer solidarity. We're all in this together, and we're all equally alone. Camus ended The Myth of Sisyphus with these words: "The struggle itself is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy." He's not telling you to be happy about meaninglessness. He's telling you that happiness is possible despite meaninglessness, that you can find fulfillment in the struggle itself, that consciousness, clarity, and choice are their own rewards. That rebellion against the absurd is the most human thing you can do. Your life might be meaningless in the cosmic sense. Your achievements will fade. Your name will be forgotten. The boulder will always roll back down. But right now, in this moment, you're alive. You're conscious. You're choosing. And that's enough. That's always been enough. You are Sisyphus. Your life is the mountain, and you get to decide whether to push your boulder with resentment or with joy. The universe doesn't care which you choose. But you're not living for the universe. You're living for yourself. So push your boulder, embrace the absurd, find your freedom in the struggle, and imagine yourself happy. If this perspective resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Subscribe to join others exploring the deepest questions of existence. Hit like if this changed how you think about meaning, and drop a comment with your city. Let's see where in the world people are waking up to the absurd. Until next time, keep pushing your boulder and find your happiness in the climb.